Mindfulness can bring peace and deep inner knowledge. Richard can help you deepen your practice. Watch this video to learn more. This is Mindfulness with Richard. I'm Richard Clarke. Welcome. Okay. This series focuses on mindfulness meditation. Listen, reflect, and deeply meditate. Today, I'm going to talk about discrimination. This is the first of the 4 means and 6 virtues, which I introduced last week. Discrimination is being able to tell the difference between what is permanent and what is transient. This is a key element in meditation, to be able to see something that is transient, that will come and go, and to be open to it when it comes, and to let it go when it passes. For discrimination, you have to be able to see what's going on within yourself and notice what you see. Most of what you see are appearances, objects, thoughts, feelings, memories, and desires, all of which are temporary. They come and go. Now, discrimination is discriminating the transient from the permanent. There is something that knows all these transient things that doesn't come and go. Ramana Maharshi, the teacher of my teacher, emphasized the importance of discrimination in spiritual practice. He taught that discrimination is the ability to distinguish between the eternal, the unchanging, and the transient, changing world of appearances. According to Maharshi, the practice of discrimination is essential for attaining self-realization and liberation. He also emphasized the importance of self-inquiry, or who am I, as asking yourself, who am I, as a means for attaining this discrimination. Now, there are 2 ways of practicing discrimination. One is meditation, like we are doing here. And meditation is a powerful tool for gaining insight into the nature of the mind and yourself. By focusing the mind on the breath, you can learn to observe the mind's thoughts, feelings, and sensations without getting caught up in them. You learn to see what is transient and let it come and go. Discriminating between the permanent and the temporary is the other kind of practice, and this is practiced by observing the thoughts and feelings and sensations that rise up in the mind, and distinguishing between those that are permanent and those that are temporary. Discrimination is between the permanent and temporary, and you learn to let go of what is temporary and hold on to what is not, what is permanent. It's important to note that discrimination is not a one-time event, but a continuous process of inquiry and reflection. It's also important to understand that discrimination is not about rejecting the world, but rather understanding that the world is a temporary appearance, like an illusion, and there is an unchanging reality that doesn't come and go. Discrimination is rejecting the temporary in favor of what is always there. Discrimination is also a practice that you can actively do. It's not something where you wait for your practice to deepen, but it's a way you can deepen your own practice and your own knowledge about yourself and the world. And as you know more about yourself, then you'll also find that what you think about the world is different. So discrimination is one of the things that opens up your insight into yourself and really facilitates this process of deep spiritual change. So discrimination also plays a part throughout these four means that we're talking about. And as your discrimination deepens, so do other elements of this practice. So, how was your meditation last week, Doug?
Well, the last couple of days, it's been very good. But last week, I don't know, I call it the yips. I don't know, that's very highly technological term, but I just low energy. I was sleeping 12 hours a night plus
Wow.
taking a nap. And when I tried to meditate, before I knew it, I was asleep and dreaming, or not really, sort of dozing and dreaming. It was kind of strange, but it seems to have gone away happily. And so this week, towards the last couple of days, I've been fine. I've been doing some good meditating.
Okay. Now, I've noticed myself sometimes when I'm in a funny state, kind of on the verge of sleep, like you're talking about there, I've done it when I meditate, and it's actually kind of interesting to me. Before I go to sleep, or I think before I go to sleep, I can actually watch something that's almost like a dream or the start of a dream take hold. And for 3 or 4 minutes, I am in this other reality, this comes from the mind. And
Right.
I notice it after a little bit and come back to the meditation. And then if I'm kind of in that state, it'll start up again pretty soon thereafter, and I'll catch it again and come back to the meditation. And one of the things that's interesting to me about it, and maybe you can notice it too if this happens again, is I've started to notice, just how much the mind makes up reality. And, somehow I just believe in it and go along with it for a while. And then I catch on and come out of it. And, I think the mind is like that anyway, and we mainly don't notice it. And part of what we are doing when we're meditating is we're watching the mind. And sometimes you can catch the mind in its own games.
Is that like the dream state? Because dreams can be so weird.
Yes, it's kind of halfway between the waking state and the dream state. And it's enough into the dream state where already the mind is just taking over based on its own internal reality or ideas or whatever is going on.
Yeah, I think that the dream state, you're completely asleep. But what was happening to me is, and you describe it actually better than I can, Richard, is I was just kind of dozing. I wasn't really asleep. I was just kind of dozing, and then I started dreaming, but I didn't follow through on it. Maybe next time it happens, I'll try to do that, to observe it.
Uh-huh. Anyway, it's a good thing, and you can watch what's going on. I also would note that none of the spiritual teachers that I've ever contacted advised meditating in your sleep. So spiritual practice is still something that has been recommended for thousands of years, but it's always in the waking state. The illusions we carry around are in the waking state. And so the meditation is the thing that helps us break through our own mental conditioning. And since it's a waking state problem, I think it has to be a waking state solution.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, that's what Don Mateo and Carlos Castañedas.
Oh, yes.
He was very much into dreaming, into learning to control your dreams,
right,
and use them. But I don't know if that's even possible. But I don't think
the Tibetan Buddhists, there's a branch of the Tibetan Buddhists where a big part of their meditation is essentially this kind of directed dreaming. And a version of it is they will be locked into a dark room, for a period of many days, and they will be given by their master some problem to do that requires them to basically use a directed dream to go get out of their room and meet the master's challenge. And I'm told the reason they do this kind of dream work is that it's easier to see the illusion if you're working with a dream than it is to see it in regular daily life. So anyway, there are many strange practices. I haven't done much directed dreaming. There was a case where I was in the middle of a dream and had this funny kind of sense of being in the dream and taking control of it, and to show what I could do in my dream that I couldn't do in the waking state, I did a forward complete flip, which which I don't know how to do in real life, and it just kind of demonstrated what I do. Anyway, it's not been a part of my practice, though I know people who have had this Tibetan Buddhist slant and practice it from that viewpoint. Anyway, how about you, Barley?
Well, the thing that kind of freaked me out was this idea of asking about you if you know yourself, and then you say, I don't know. I guess I must just not understand it, because
okay, the when you ask who am I, when you ask who am I, then what you'll notice is the first kind of answers that you get are a bunch of things you identify I'm Richard. I'm a man. I live in Chapala. I have kids and stuff like this, and they are all these different roles that you identify with. And the thing is that who you are has to be whoever is the same in all those different roles, which means at some level, you're not any of the people you think in any of the roles. Those are just a mental image that you have assigned yourself when I'm being Richard, I'm like this. And when you start to look at this, there's only so far the mind can go. And if you keep looking at these images and you say, that's not me, who am I if I'm not that? And you get to a place where it's just quiet. And that's as far as your mind can go at that quiet. And then you can notice at that quiet that you still know that quiet. The quiet is not empty. There is something there. And the something that is there is what knows all of this stuff. It's like what we were talking about with the waking, sleeping, and dreaming, and this fourth state that knows them all.
Okay.
So what happens as you are able to do this is then you're able to see and be in the world without all of this mental conditioning and habits and stuff we use that really determine a lot of how we act in the world and what we see in the world. That's just kind of mental baggage that you hold on to because you think I'm this person and this person does this and thinks that. Does that help at all?
Yeah, but it's a complex process.
No shit.
There.
Yes,
I'm just not quite there yet, but but yeah, I got another little shot of what it is. So
oh, good. Well, I had to laugh when you said it's a complex process because I've been working on it for more than 30 years.
Okay.
And I feel like
I knew it was a complex process.
For me anyway. I think it also could just be because I'm a slow learner.
Me too.
But it takes a while. We live within this kind of web of conditioning that we have built up through time in this life. Some would say we build it up in many lives. I don't know. I can't remember any of the other ones. So I don't know, but we build up all of this conditioning, and this conditioning is in the way of our own freedom and happiness. So anyway, it takes a while. For me, I feel like in the last few years, then I have made some headway somehow.
Oh, good.
So how about you, Richard? How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Swami Vivekananda once described the mind as a drunken monkey stung by a scorpion. and doing meditation or self-inquiry could see how ridiculous some of the things the mind comes up with.
Mm-hmm.
And Ramana's teaching, coming back to the I, is just for me the most suitable, the most wonderful.
Because when you
And
come back to the I, you are able to be in this space without these extra unneeded ideas and conditioning.
Right, you come back, you see the silliness of the mind, and then you come back to that quiet and like Ramana said, it's like wanting to keep the bull in its proper place and just keep giving it the sweetest grass, the eye.
Now, this is also what I was talking about with discrimination, noticing that there's all this stuff that changes, and all of this stuff that changes is basically my life, actually. And still within the middle of all of that change, there's something that doesn't.
And that's from where everything arises.
Right. And the more I know this within me that doesn't change, then the more peaceful I am and the more happy I am.
Right, exactly. And that's living more of your nature. And, we talk about the complexity of it. And Ramana used to say it was so simple. It's the simplest thing. What could be simpler than your own nature?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one of the things about it is what you're looking for turns out to be what you are already and what you always have been, but somehow we just didn't notice it. And it's silly. That's part of why this moment when you notice it is called the day of laughter. Because it's funny. How could I have missed it? I always was this, but I just didn't see.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Like having your glasses around your neck and hanging on your chest and looking for them.
That's right. That's right. It's like that. So anyway, I'm glad you asked your question, Barley, because this is real stuff that we're talking about here. And it is the real depth of the spiritual practice and the thing that, as I say, for me, has brought me more peace and more happiness than anything else I've ever done in my life. And it keeps getting deeper. The more that I do it, the deeper it gets. Okay, so now that we've had all of that stuff, let us do some meditating and find that happiness for ourselves right now within ourselves. And mindfulness is present moment awareness, paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally, fully receive whatever is experienced, then let it go. Relax. Look for the joy in this moment. Let experiences and thoughts come and go. All right. And now we have a video from an organization, The Direct Path, and this is Discrimination is Natural, the direct path to the self.
Discrimination is as natural to the person or ego as speaking or walking. The mind feeds on the constant differences it perceives. It labels them and files them away for later use. Cold, hot, wet, dry, fat, thin, black, white, happy, sad, I want, I don't want, and so on. The constant activity of this labeling of supposed differences is the obstructing mind. Remove the discerning mind, and what is revealed? Turn the discerning mind onto the self and discern the difference between the reality and the unreal. The pristine, undisturbed, natural state of mind being absorbed into the absolution of self is referred to as samadhi, or mukti, or liberation. People have many fantastic ideas about this state. There are those who allow themselves to fall into a deep, motionless state, far deeper than dreamless sleep, where there is awareness of absolutely nothing. They celebrate this as the absolute. While still others think that once you enter into mukti, you become a completely different being. And others take mukti to be obtainable only through a trance by which the world consciousness is totally destroyed. As if when one experiences a fainting spell. All this is due to them viewing it intellectually. Mukti, liberation, is beingness, effortless consciousness. Where does the fear or confusion come in? Where is the mystery of being oneself? To some people whose minds have become ripe due to a long practice, mukti comes sudden as a flood. But to others, it comes in the course of their spiritual practice of self-inquiry. A practice which slowly wears down the obstructing thoughts. And reveals the screen of pure awareness. I amness. Further practice renders the screen permanently exposed. This is self-realization, samadhi, mukti, or liberation, the natural, effortless state. Mere non-perception of the differences outside is not the real nature of firm liberation. Know that the non-rising of differences in the dead mind alone is the true liberation. Seeing things as they are, before allowing an ego to arise and label them. This is the reality.
Now, let's take a few minutes to meditate again. And as you breathe in and out, just pay particular attention to the pause between the up-breath and the pause between the down-breath. All right. And we'll end with a chant. Om.
Shanti.
Shanti. Shanti.
Shanti.
Shanti. Om. Peace. 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 All right. Any questions or comments?
I like concentrating on the end of the breath, the in breath and the out breath. That as well for me.
Yeah, I think that's a good practice too. And I do it even when we're not together.
But I do find myself counting when I get to the end.
There,
Still,
that is one of the standard techniques. One of the approaches is just on the in breath or the out breath, count from 1 to 10, and then just keep going. And when you find out all of a sudden you don't remember where you were, just start back at 1.
Yeah.
And so it helps concentration. I've tried that too. For me, I find the paying attention to the change of the breath going up and down keeps my mind quieter than counting, but it still gives me something else to be paying attention to. And the mind likes to have something to do. It's funny.
This is simple.
That's right. There's another Hindu image that they use. It's like if you have an elephant around, the trunk of the elephant just goes everywhere and can get you in trouble. But if you give the elephant something to hold in its trunk, then it settles down and it's good to be around.
That's cute.
That's exactly what I was thinking, Richard.
Okay.
Elephant image?
The elephant's trunk. Yeah, that's in the image is in one of Ramana's books.
Yes.
The elephant, his trunk is always busy feeling around to see what it can touch or what it can smell. But if you give it something to hold, an iron chain, I think was his
Right, that's the metaphor.
Metaphor, yeah. Because then it's still, the trunk is then just still holding that object.
So it's like that with the mind. You just need
Yes.
to give it an iron chain to hold and it'll be good.
I don't like that image. Iron chain, no.
No, anyway, I like the pause and the breath. An iron chain is too heavy for me.
Yeah. Too restrictive for the elephant too. He's probably eating with his nose, but he doesn't have to hold it all day and all night.
Now, Barley, another way to look at this idea, these identities that we put on, is kind of like their costumes.
I like costumes.
And, who we are is not any of the costumes.
We're just naked, huh?
But and again, for me, this being whatever it is that doesn't change is something that has deep meaning to me. One of the things I've done before my meditation for decades is before I meditate, I just ask myself and notice, do I exist? And every time I do it, I discover I do exist, and I know that I exist. And that's been the case asking thousands of times. And after a while, it's like I start to catch on to a pattern. Whenever I look, I'm there. So
That's cool.
anyway, any more questions or discussions? Or shall we say goodbye for today? Namaste then. Very good. Namaste. I'll see you next week. Now, namaste, one meaning for namaste is the God within me salutes the God within you. So that's a nice meaning. Namaste.
That's pretty heavy.
Yes. You want deeper meditation, more peace, more happiness. Subscribe now to continue to find ways to get more from your meditation.